Thanks. Right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome everyone here. It's brilliant to see such a packed pavilion. And welcome also to everyone online. In a moment, I'm going to ask our moderator to come up, but I just wanted to note that if you need to hear, we do have English on the audios on channel 19, and we have Portuguese on 18. No, other way round. Thanks. So English on 18, Portuguese on 19. We are blessed with quite a cool pavilion, but it is quite loud, so you may need it to hear. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to ask our moderator, Tarja Badagashin, who is the CEO of the CIFs, the Climate Investment Funds, to come up and get us going. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Right Honourable Ed Miliband, the UK Secretary of State for Energy, Security and Net Zero. Honourable Minister Shri Bhupender Yadav, India's Minister of Environment, Forestry and Climate Change. Distinguished guests, colleagues and friends. Thank you for joining us for this conversation that goes to the heart of this COP. How we move faster toward our clean energy future together. While with current global action, we are bending the curve on projected warming from 3.6 degrees to 2.7, the world is not where it needs to be. We must move even more rapidly. It's now about scale, swift scale. This is the time to accelerate our commitment to scalable energy solutions through innovation, finance, and partnership. It's a privilege to have on stage with me today two long-standing partners of the CIF. The United Kingdom was one of the earliest supporters of the CIF when we were established in 2008 at the request of the G7 and the G20. And the UK has remained a committed partner through the years since we started, with energy systems at the core, as well as supporting the continuum across nature and resilience. Our partnership with India extends back almost as far. Around the same time, CIF invested $17 million of deeply concessional capital in solar park infrastructure, unlocking almost $2 billion from MDBs and the private sector. And later, we were part of the World Bank's first solar and battery project commissioned globally at the time. It was a trailblazing proof of concept located in India. And this year, we approved funding for India's $2.6 billion green financing facility to accelerate priority clean energy investments, from green hydrogen to green ammonia to distributed renewables. Today, India is a clear, clean energy leader. 50% of the country's installed electric capacity already comes from renewables, and they achieved this 5 years ahead of schedule. And the country is rapidly advancing toward its 2030 target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. The CIF is proud to have played a small but important role in this tremendous shift. This is what public finance should do. It should serve as a critical spark to help ignite lasting economic transformation. India's achievement shows that development and climate responsibility can go hand in hand. A key component of this success story is the partnership between India and the UK. The UK and India are together forging a powerful alliance to advance clean energy and green technologies for sustainable energy systems that will power the economies of the future. The UK has placed climate action at the heart of its relationship with India through initiatives such as the new Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement and the 2035 Vision. Today, we are honored to welcome Minister Miliband and Minister Yadav to the stage to have a conversation about partnerships and innovation driving India's progress, and also to discuss how the UK-India collaboration can accelerate the global clean energy transition. May I invite you to the stage? Now, we will Thank you. Now let's start by showing a short film showcasing India's clean energy journey.
A land that has worshipped the sun, revered the rivers, and lived by the rhythm of the seasons, is today leading a new revolution, not one of steel or fire, but of light, wind, and water. Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, India has set out not just to electrify villages, but to illuminate 1 billion lives responsibly, renewably. India's clean energy commitments: 500 gigawatt renewable energy by 2030. 50% energy from non-fossil, Viksit Bharat or developed nation by 2047, net zero by 2070. These are vows the country made to its future generations. And today, India is delivering ahead of schedule. In just over a decade, India's solar capacity has grown by 45 times, making it the world's third largest solar power producer. A reality made possible through initiatives like PM Surya Ghar. These are not mere energy programs. They are liberation movements empowering 10 million homes to become power generators. PM Surya Ghar is one of the most formidable people's movements of today, where ordinary citizens fuel what is the largest rooftop solar generating project in the world. At the heart of this change are the modern decision makers, women, no longer just users of energy, but producers, decision makers, leaders. For when it is a question of transforming homes, they are the true gatekeepers. The country today spearheads global solar energy collaborations as president of the International Solar Alliance, with a view to enable a global solar energy grid seamlessly connecting countries and continents under the One Sun, One World, One Grid vision of Prime Minister Modi. The Prime Minister's future-facing Make in India initiative has been instrumental in this transformation, abetting India's pride to build a clean energy manufacturing ecosystem from scratch and becoming a global source for state-of-the-art clean energy equipment and technology. Today's India is breaching new frontiers as it walks the talk, leading the world towards a clean future in the cold deserts of Ladakh. Along its 7,500 kilometers of uninterrupted coastline, a new India is being forged from offshore wind, small hydropower, and green hydrogen. India's National Green Hydrogen Mission stands as a cornerstone of this clean energy transition. It will reduce dependence on fossil fuel imports and position India as a global leader in green hydrogen technology and markets, marking a decisive step towards energy self-reliance and sustainability. Today's India is green, skilled, and globally integrated. One that is aided by policy and built by its people, connected through green energy corridors, free from the tyranny of toxic diesel fuels, through solar pumps, and training themselves to be not just the country's best, but the world's clean energy workforce of tomorrow. In Gujarat, at Dandi Kutir, where Gandhi once marched for freedom, India celebrated its milestone of crossing 200 gigawatt of renewable energy in September 2024. The world is now turning to India, not just for wisdom, but for watts. In financial year 2024-25, India exported $1.12 billion or 993.29 crore worth of solar PVs. India's clean energy success is not just national, it's a global service, a blueprint for the future, a promise for change. India has always been one with the sun. It has worshipped it, and today it's also harnessing it to lift lives, power dreams, and lead the planet. India, powering progress, empowering the planet.
So with that fresh in our minds, let's turn to the central question on how India has achieved this remarkable progress. and what this experience can offer other countries who wish to embark on this journey. So I'm going to start with Minister Yadav. India has been on this impressive trajectory, rapidly expanding non-fossil fuel capacity and beating one of its 2030 NDC targets so ahead of schedule. So could you share some insights into the key steps India took to accelerate this transition and deliver such a significant amount of capacity at such remarkable speed?
Thank you very much. So India's achievement goes to its leadership, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. Prime Minister's vision, action and execution is the main component to achieve this target 5 years before what the time we set for the achievement. As we know that energy is the basic requirement of today's world. But clean energy is essential for save the world also. So in his action, Prime Minister facilitated the ease of doing business, either a policy level hurdle or legislative reform or financial support, identification of land, targeted area. All things are done in a very structured manner. So first, the action taken by Prime Minister for ease of doing business. Second, when you are going for manufacturing, you must provide some incentive to the manufacturer also. For that purpose, India started the product link incentive scheme also, to facilitate the manufacturers also. Third thing, government also providing the financial incentive and investment model also. Like when we produce the electricity, we need a sustainable agriculture, or the change come in the public life also. As it's shown in the last video also, India is the largest country in the world who provide the rooftop solar to every household. India is also providing this solar facility in one Kusum Yojana to its agriculture farmer also. So we facilitate to the ease of doing business. We are giving the support to the manufacturer in PLI scheme. We are providing the financial setup, but we are establishing a market also for that purpose. Apart from that, when there is too much production of electricity, India modernization is its grid also. So the modernization and energy storage capacity also enhanced simultaneously in our policy program. And the last, the regulatory amendment and dedicated missions. Like for the clean energy, India started the green hydrogen mission, solar mission, nuclear mission for the purpose of that. And government announced in the budget announcement also and implemented effectively. That's the reason India achieved its target under the leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji.
Indeed, it's a network of incentives that have to come together seamlessly. So, Minister Miliband, the UK has set ambitious climate targets of its own. And during your recent visit to India, you must have experienced some learning. So what are the key lessons or insights that you took away and that could help inform or accelerate the UK's path to achieving these goals?
Can people hear me? Oh, yeah. Well, look, first of all, can I say it's great to be doing my first event at the British Pavilion. I want to thank all of the people who are staffing the Pavilion. We have the best coffee at COP30, I'm told. That deserves a round of applause from everybody. But thank you in all seriousness to all of the staff who are here at the COP. I want to thank you in particular, Minister Yadav, for your incredible leadership on these issues. And this event really partly arose from my trip to India and earlier this year, and how much I felt there was an undertold story about India's drive to clean energy. And I think you saw from that video, if you listen to some of the way that commentary on clean energy and climate happens these days, you'd think countries were all somehow moving away from a drive towards clean energy and climate. As that video showed, far from it, India is charging towards this. And the fact that you have achieved your non-fossil fuel 50% target 5 years early is something lots of other countries would be envious of. Achieving your targets not late, but early. So I think this is incredibly important. I think there's some wider lessons that we can learn from India's experience, which is I was doing this job 15 or so years ago, and what has changed so much in that time is that the economics has moved in the direction of clean energy. You know, India is doing this because it's the right thing. I don't want to speak for India, but my observation from talking to Minister Yadav and others is that India is doing this because this is the right thing for future generations, but it is also the right thing for today's generations. Because, you know, who can be against cheap rooftop solar? Good for jobs, good for development, and it can make a difference to people. And I think it is that, and Nick Stern talks very compellingly about this, I think it is combining that growth and development story with the environmental story that is the absolutely key, was the absolute key insight for me from India's experience. I must say, it's mentioned in that video, but I came away with an envy for your 10 million rooftop solar project, which I think has been achieved incredibly quickly, and I'd be interested to hear more about it. I'm also proud about some of the partnerships, and you mentioned them, that the UK government has done with India to help in some of these endeavors. But look, I think this is an incredibly important story, and I think it's a story that deserves a wider telling.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned. Thanks. I'm glad you mentioned climate growth and development, because it speaks actually to my next question, which is again, Minister Yadav, for you to speak about your experience with respect to the balancing economic development and decarbonization. This is very inspiring, and it'll be great to hear your insights on this so that other nations can also think through those dimensions.
You are very much right that economic development and decarbonization will work together. The India also emphasizes that this process must be affordable, effective, and accessible to the common person. So that's the reason, that is the core of our policy, that decoupling economic growth from emission, it's remain inclusivity, and it's providing a green job, more opportunity, especially to the domestic manufacturing sector. That's the reason the main issue is to continue the policy. In last 10 years, India achieved this because India's policy, there is a consistency and continuity in policy. And this continuity and consistency definitely helping to the domestic manufacturing company. We are also working that our indigenous technology must be developed. So that's the reason government giving a more incentive for innovation to the new companies also. That's the main thing. And we also explore the blending finance and market mechanism also. Because alone fixing of target is not sufficient. You work on it and you see the futuristic aspect for that. So we are working on that. We are working on the futuristic aspect also. And basically, the success of the policy depends whether your policy is providing more green job, and this growth will able to facilitate the common person, Yes, we achieved that also. And that's the reason our economic activity and our clean fuel policy will work together.
Targets and ambition. I want to segue to Minister Miliband to talk about ambition. You see, the climate crisis is affecting us all, from Delhi to London. In your view, what role can the COPs, multilateralism, and international partnership play in driving continued ambition and delivering on effective global action to address the challenge of climate change?
I think it's a really good and important question that you're asking, and I think talking of untold stories, I think part of what we should all be doing more of is telling the story of success of the COP process, because lots of people complain about the COP process, including some of those who are at the COP, and there are always reasons to complain about the process. It's hard, it can be frustrating, it can be difficult, but it has succeeded. I mentioned that I was Secretary of State 15 years ago. When we left Copenhagen feeling very down in the dumps, we were heading for 4 to 5 degrees of global warming. Today we're heading for 2.3 to 2.5 degrees of global warming. Now, of course it's the case that 2.3 to 2.5 degrees of global warming is very bad, but it is progress. And I do think that part of what our opponents are trying to do is to cast a feeling of despair that anything can change. It's just not true, because this multilateral process has yielded results. Personally, I don't think this would have happened without the Paris Agreement and without multilateralism, nor do I believe that 80% of the world's GDP would be covered by net zero without multilateralism, nor do I think that double the investment will be going into clean energy than went into fossil fuels last year without this multilateral process. And in a way, the fact that we have 193 countries here working together, you know, sweaty, difficult, just talking for myself here, sweaty, difficult, frustrating, but that is what the process is, because you're trying to get 193 countries to agree to these quite fundamental questions about the future path of development and growth and their economies and so on. So no wonder it's sweaty, difficult, and hard. What do I think about this COP is that we all have a duty and a responsibility, and Minister Yadav and I, without speaking for him, I think agree on this, to keep this process of multilateralism on the road, to keep driving this process forward, partly because, and I think this is such an important point, this is not a zero-sum game, this is a positive-sum game. We don't lose out from India making these advances, we gain from India making these advances. We gain as a world. Hopefully India doesn't lose out, it gains from us making our own advances on technology, partly because of jobs, partly because of a safer climate, partly because of learning from each other. And there are lots of initiatives, and I won't list all the initiatives, of countries like the UK and India working together on technical know-how, on understanding each other's lessons. And indeed, one of the big themes of my visit to India was, to be honest, me being just unbelievably impressed with the seriousness of the minister, of Niti Aayog, the think tank, about the net zero 2070 target. And all of the work that is going on around the net zero, charting a course towards the net zero 2070 target. So I think it's such an important question that you ask. There is no other hope but multilateralism. We can leave each other to sink or swim, or we can decide that we're not going to do that, that it's in our own national interest and in our global interest to cooperate together. And I think actually, let's see what the outcomes are from this COP, but already by 193 countries coming and working together, we have made an incredibly important statement to the world that we've chosen not the sink or swim or the go it alone approach, we've chosen the approach of cooperation and multilateralism.
Thank you. I really like the phrase positive sum. And this is a narrative that we have to hold on to during these key conversations, because whether it's multilateral partnership, bilateral partnership, national partnership, or institutional partnership, that's what it's going to take to achieve these objectives that we have. Now I have a question for both of you, which is again tied to the issue of partnership, and this goes back to the strong foundation of the UK-India cooperation, which is what more can you do? What more can the two countries do together to accelerate the global clean energy transition, support resilience, especially for the most vulnerable? So, Minister Yadav, you can just start.
Hello. First of all, I am fully agree with the views of Honorable Minister Miliband about the multilateralism. India and UK both believe in multilateralism and have a very strong bilateral ties also. Recently, the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of England in Mumbai was very successful, and even we met Minister Miliband 2 months before, and there was so much bilateral talk between both the countries, how we will work together also. I feel that for climate action program, India and UK work with one climate action program, CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure, and that is a very successful model to provide a capacity building to the other countries also. Because even in this program, the infrastructure for resilience island states, the IRIS program, that provide help capacity support to the 57 SIDS country also. And International Solar Alliance is one of the example where the both countries work on the program of one sun, one world, one grid also. We feel that India's low cost, high impact, this renewable development policy definitely needs a support from UK on its capacity to and expertise in blended finance. If both will work together, definitely both countries will work together on this field in future also.
And then let me add a few things. Look, I agree with very much with what the minister said. Look, first of all, working together at each COP. That is the principle of multilateralism. That's what Minister Yadav and I were discussing earlier on in our meeting. But then there are other areas, as the minister said. First of all, working through our Global Clean Power Alliance on supply chains, making sure that we have resilient supply chains for the world. This is a fruitful area where our two prime ministers were talking earlier on this year about the cooperation that we can do together. Secondly, expanding joint innovation and investment in clean technologies from offshore wind to battery storage and smart grids. And we can pool our expertise and resources and accelerate deployment at scale to the benefit of both countries and to the benefit of businesses in both countries. Third, I agree with what the minister said, and we should just be candid about this, about the collaboration on climate resilience, particularly in vulnerable regions. You know, how we share best practice on adaptation, how we support early warning systems, and initiatives like CDRI and partnerships under the International Solar Alliance, I think show what is possible when we work together. And then the last point is about cooperation which goes beyond governments. So engaging businesses, engaging civil society, local communities. I think all of these things between Britain and India, between countries across the world, in all of these ways, and this is one of the things that COP is about, we can cooperate together. And then the only last other point I would make, and maybe this is a reason for optimism, is look, we talk a lot about negative tipping points. We all know what negative tipping points are. I think we should also talk about positive tipping points. You know, India achieving its non-fossil fuel target 5 years early is a positive tipping point. it shows what is it shows what is possible.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned CDR and supply chains. We recently signed a cooperation agreement between the CIF and CDRI on resilience, and we got tremendous support for the CIF's industry decarbonization program that's doing some work on supply chain. So this is the next frontier, right? The next frontier: resilience, industry, supply chains, etc. So let's double click into another refined point around potentially how we extend these learnings to LDCs and really vulnerable countries, and how we can extend beyond this experience and support other countries in this respect.
Absolutely. Your question is how we extend beyond this in future also. There is already a India and UK Vision 2035 climate action program also. We emphasize on three issues. First, both countries will work together for accelerating the clean energy, mobilizing climate finance at a scale, and strengthening resilience. The second thing is both countries develop especially the UK and India with together, develop the cutting edge technology and research, building the technology security initiative, especially the artificial intelligence. And in futuristic world also, the third point, both countries work together laying ground for future collaboration on semiconductors, quantum, and biotechnology and advanced critical mineral technology also. There is also a work plan where the India and UK offshore wind task force is there. And in third way, the accelerating smart power and renewable energy program is also going on. I think with this program, both countries will work together in future for better climate exchange program.
I agree with everything that was just said. I mean, for those who don't know, the CDRI is the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and it was an India-led initiative supported by the UK as one of its founding members and first co-chair, and I think has become, Minister, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, has become widely recognized in the disaster resilience and climate resilience space, and I think this is a really important partnership for both LDCs and for CID. Look, honestly, I think I always like being accompanied by music. That's very nice. I'm not sure it's my music of choice, but this is what they do when they want you to shut up. Basically, they start playing music. So I think that point is important. Look, I think we should surface, and Tarier, you know this better than I do, this issue of how we get funds flowing more quickly for adaptation and resilience. I think if there's one thing I repeatedly hear from LDCs and SIDS, and I heard it at the High Ambition Coalition event a couple of days ago, it's this question of not just the quantity of finance, but the quality of finance, the flow of finance. Why do we have to wait so long for funds to be released? And you and I have discussed this, and you're a great example of trying to drive this forward in the work that you do. But I think one of the things for us to all work on collectively is, if we are serious about supporting climate action, serious about supporting adaptation and resilience, it's not just about the quantums matter, but also quality matters, access matters, the funds actually flowing matters, because there's nothing worse. I was talking to the minister from Sierra Leone about this, than having to wait year upon year for the funds to actually start flowing, even though the funds are supposed to be available. And that seems to me to be a really important agenda item for us all.
Absolutely. We must all work toward reducing the burden of access and reducing the burden of scale. And institutions such as CDRI and indeed International Solar Alliance, that are multilateral responses led by countries like India, alongside Global South, Global North. These are, again, this is in the new, the evolved model of multilateralism to support LDC, SIDS, anchored on some of our larger economies. So as we start closing, we do have a final question for both ministers as well, which is about messaging. We are here at this COP30, and, you know, other than that, we all need to get through the sweaty times and stay the course. What would you like to send out to all the members here about the importance of partnership, the importance of ambition as we continue to tackle these climate challenges? Minister Yadav.
As in earlier statement, Minister Miliband rightly said, quality is important than quantity. So in the end, with this multilateral and bilateral relationship, especially in terms with UK, in last message I want to say only in two things. First, economic growth and ambitious climate action are mutually reinforceable goals. So with the trust, either in bilateral or multilateral, we will work together for that. Second, climate is an enabler of economic and energy security. So that's a demand of today's world also. I hope with our long-standing partnership, friendship, believing in democracy, believing in multilateralism, and have a very close bilateral relation, both countries will work together in future on this line.
Well, I'm tempted just to say I'm Ed Miliband and I endorse this message because I do endorse this message, and I think, Minister, you put it incredibly well. I would only add one thing, which is a message to everybody in this in this room, and I think it's one of the reasons I was so keen to do this event, is we all must be the bearers of hope. We all must be the bearers of hope. Because, frankly, and the Minister and I were actually discussing this earlier on in our meeting, if we are the bearers of despair, we are not going to succeed. Nobody ever got out of bed inspired by a message of despair. They act because of a message of hope. And I think there are many, many more reasons for hope than sometimes we advertise and sometimes that we put forward. Of course it is hard. Of course it is difficult. But when you look at the pathway that India is embarked upon, when you hear the minister's incredibly eloquent words about growth and climate action being partners, not opponents, I listen to that, and how can you not feel inspired and hopeful? So I think for sort of all of us at this COP, particularly in this year of all years and with this global atmosphere around, it is incredibly important to be hopeful. Not illusory hope, not ungrounded hope, but real hope, real determination to do more, but also real hope about the future. And for those who haven't been and might have the chance to go, can I encourage you to go to India and see the story of what India is doing? Because I believe that you will come away hopeful like I did about the model of development, about the determination to move forward, about the seriousness of the mission. So I would just end by saying thank you so much to Minister Yadav for your leadership. Thank you to all of you for coming, and thank you, Terry, for chairing this event today. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable ministers. You're so kind. And indeed, India as the beacon of hope, showing what they've been able to achieve. in such record time, at such record scale. We all have to keep in mind. And indeed, to the UK for being the partner of hope as we all continue to do this good work. So I'm sure that the audience will agree that this has been a really enlightening, inspiring conversation. And as we mark a decade since the Paris Agreement, this COP30 is pivotal. We must now build on ambitious commitments to ambitious implementation. The UK and India are showing their commitment in this respect. Progress is visible on the ground, with India leading the way. We have heard lessons from India's experience, how to scale renewables quickly, and how global leadership can be exercised through initiatives such as CDRI and ISA. These are examples that others can draw on as they pursue their own transitions. So today's conversation sends us all a clear message, which is that collaboration works. The India-UK Climate Partnership demonstrates what is possible when countries work together to accelerate the global energy transition. Thank you all for joining us today. Special thanks to Honorable Minister Miliband and Honorable Minister Yadav for your insightful contributions. Let us take these lessons forward, turning ambition into action. Thank you. Let's have a photo.